The 2026 race for Arizona governor has kind of flown under the radar. That because Governor Katie Hobbs is a clear favorite to win the 2026 race for Arizona governor and continue to serve for another 4-year term as the governor of Arizona. Now, there is a development out in the race for governor, though, and that's the fact that Arizona now has a new law that implements lieutenant governors across the state and running mates. Katie Hobbs had to decide on a running mate for this election in the 2026 midterms, and she's decided on the former mayor of Mesa, Arizona, that being John Giles, a former Republican, and she's tapped him to be her lieutenant governor throughout this term, this next term as governor of Arizona. Now, this is significant because, of course, a Republican and a Democratic ticket together. But remind you, John Giles is not some sort of Trumpist-style candidate. In fact, just 4 years ago, he actually endorsed Katie Hobbs to be the governor of Arizona, that against Kari Lake. But this race is going to be a lot different than it was 4 years ago. First of all, 4 years ago we had Biden in office, and the race for governor and statewide offices and races across the country in the 2022 midterms were fully expected to go to the Republicans. Despite that not being the case, that was the expectation going in, is that it would be a red wave in 2022, but ultimately that didn't pan out. In fact, if we go back to the 2022 data, we actually find that Katie Hobbs was not expected to win the governor's race. She was actually a underdog in this fight. If you look at the margin of victory across the state, Real Clear Politics sitting at Lake plus 3.5, 538 Lake plus 2.4, and 271 Lake plus 2, an average of Lake plus 2.6 across the state of Arizona. Also, another important factor was the prediction odds. The Crystal Ball, 538, and Elections Daily had this as a lean Republican, while others, such as Fox News, Politico, and others, had this as a toss-up race. Ultimately, ended up going to the Democrats, despite some of the efforts from Republicans to make this out to be a race that Kari Lake, who, remind you, was not as strong of a candidate as Republicans could have had in this race for governor, but ultimately, it showed that Kari Lake was going to be someone here who really wasn't the strongest of the candidates, but ultimately panned out that way too. She lost this race for Arizona governor. 2 years later, she lost a Senate race across the state of Arizona as well. So important on that note as well. And the 2026 race is not a lot different. Republicans have not picked someone super strong. Republicans have picked Congressman Andy Biggs to run against Katie Hobbs. And again, not this super wow candidate that Republicans have to run against Katie Hobbs, someone who really could win the election and serves a real clear shot. In fact, most predictions have this as a lean Democratic. The only two not is Real Clear Politics and Inside Elections. The others, such as Fox News, The Crystal Ball, Race to the White House, and others have this as lean Democrat. If you look at the money raised, it's also pretty similar. Katie Hobbs raising way more money than Andy Biggs in this race for Arizona governor. If you go to the polling averages, Hobbs plus 8, plus 7.3, an average of plus 7.6 across the state. Some of the latest polling, including one released today, has Katie Hobbs up 4%, with a margin of error, of course, of 4%, but still, nonetheless, over 50 percentage points, and having defeated, in this case, Andy Biggs on this poll for Arizona governor. And if you go back and look at many polls done throughout this race, almost every single one, besides one, has had Katie Hobbs in the lead. And it's not exactly surprising. Katie Hobbs, someone who was underestimated in 2022, ultimately ended up winning, has served a more moderate approach, appealing to some of the moderate Republicans and independents across the state. And it's going to show in the 2026 midterms when she wins re-election, at least that being in my book on what will happen. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, including my governor's predictions, you know that I have this race as Katie Hobbs as a clear favorite to win And unless something significant happens, which I don't believe will be the case, Katie Hobbs is on track to be the next governor of Arizona. Now, I also want to date you back to 2022, when Katie Hobbs refused to debate Kari Lake, something that Kari Lake used very well against Katie Hobbs, and a tactic that Republicans thought was going to work against her, until it didn't. Until Election Day rolled around and Katie Hobbs won the race for Arizona governor by 0.67% across the state, winning 50.32% of the vote to Lake's 49.65%. Katie Hobbs winning across the state of Arizona despite the fact that Republicans thought that Kari Lake running this campaign, that talking about how Katie Hobbs refused to debate and such, they thought that that was a strong approach to take, but apparently wasn't strong enough. Wasn't strong enough for a candidate like Kari Lake to be pulled over the top, and ultimately paid off for Democrats. Katie Hobbs won this race by a slim margin, mind you, in 2022, but still won and is currently serving as Arizona's governor. Coming 2026, I fully expect this race to be a much more Democratic held seat. So definitely over a percentage point. I'm not sure that Katie Hobbs quite hits the 5% range to put it in a likely Democratic column, but still, nonetheless, Katie Hobbs expected to win this race, win re-election, and that's also despite the fact that just 2 years ago, Donald Trump won across the state by 5.5 percentage points. Out of the 7 key battleground states, Donald Trump won Arizona by the largest margin. That bigger than Georgia with 2.2%, North Carolina 3.2%, Pennsylvania 1.7%, Michigan 1.4%, Wisconsin 0.86%, Nevada 3.1%. Arizona, the largest victory for President Trump in a key battleground state back in 2024. 2026, though, a little different. Republicans, while deciding on someone like Andy Biggs, who's Trump endorsed, isn't going to prove that he can do it. It's not going to prove that he can defeat Katie Hobbs, and he's not going to prove that, just like President Trump 2 years ago, that he too can win the state of Arizona. He's just not going to be able to do it. Katie Hobbs, a clear favorite to win this race for Arizona governor, and when Republicans continue to choose candidates such as Andy Biggs and Kari Lake across the state to run, it only lands them in trouble. Republicans, time and time again, losing across the state of Arizona because of candidates like Andy Biggs. You have Katie Hobbs over here deciding on a Republican to serve as her running mate. Sure, a moderate, but still a Republican, proving that she's willing to work across the aisle, that she is willing to work with others who are willing to come to her corner and talk about issues. She's proving time and time again that she's willing to do that. And tapping someone like a moderate Republican is continuing to prove that she's ready to cross the aisle, that she's ready to talk to the other side and get the support of Republicans across the state as well, moderate Republicans, independents. And this development shows that Republicans not in the same position, choosing candidates like Andy Biggs, someone who is not going to be able to perform well across the state, and ultimately is going to be proven to lose this election and lose to be the next governor of Arizona, losing a statewide office to someone that just 4 years ago was expected to lose this race to begin with. Now we're talking about Katie Hobbs being a clear favorite to win the race for Arizona governor. So with all of that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you guys believe that this is closer than I believe it is? Or do you guys believe that, like I do, that Katie Hobbs, a clear favorite to win the Arizona governor's race, Republicans continuing to choose candidates such as Kari Lake and Andy Biggs, only hurts their chances at winning statewide across the state of Arizona? Because it's proven they can win in Arizona. They won it by the largest margin of a swing state just 2 years ago. But when they choose radical kinds of candidates who President Trump endorsed and who proves to be a weaker style candidate, it just proves that Katie Hobbs is a clear favorite, that Democrats time and time again have been clear favorites to win across the state of Arizona. So, again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Love reading through those and replying to you guys. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Leave some comments below about any predictions or anything like that that you guys want to see. I would love reading through those and getting those put out for you guys. Love doing any kind of videos that you guys enjoy. So with all of that said, thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.